Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world, and welcome to Didi Rugby Live. My name is Martin Crowson, and I'm joined today by our founder and CEO, Vicky Macqueen. Hi, Vicky.
Good morning, Martin. Good to see you.
And we are also absolutely over the moon to be joined by England and Loughborough's Emily Scarratt. Emily, brilliant to have you on board today. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks for having us. Morning, guys.
We'll start with you two. And Vicky was telling me yesterday that you actually played together in the England side. Emily, you were just starting to come into the squad when Vicky was a member of it. What I'm always interested in, having played sports myself, was what you thought of each other when you both came into the squad. So let's start with you, Emily.
I think I was the newbie into the squad, so I was just trying to keep my head down and I guess still get picked and try and play well. But yeah, Macca was there as a well-established. I think she was playing 15, I was playing 13, certainly in the first few Six Nations. So yeah, I was just trying to learn as much as I could off people like her and the rest of the back line, because I was just incredibly grateful and probably really scared to be there in the first place. So people like Macca just kind of kept me going and helped me along the journey of that. So yeah, she was definitely there at the start, and we played together at Lichfield for a bit as well. Good memories. Just like to go and play rugby, isn't it, Macca?
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking that we definitely played Lichfield. That's high praise. I'm not sure you kept your head down, Skaz. You were firing the light out there as soon as you got into the England squad. But yeah, I had great memories of England playing the 15 outside of you at 13. We had like Katie McLean. It was Berth at 12, you at 13, me at 15. Yeah, just great memories. But yeah, Lichfield was proper, just fun days, and we were smashing it in the league at that point as well, weren't we? So we were winning all the games, and yeah, it was just a good vibe, definitely.
Emily, I know you're a huge knee pad fan. Did you wear knee pads when you first got into the England squad?
You know what? I didn't, because my knees hadn't got to the stage yet where they needed protection. I wondered what I was going to say then. Yeah, so my very first few games, I think, I was knee padless, unrecognisable really, but yeah, it didn't take long. I think I started off with one.
Oh, we've lost Emily there.
Just a good way of being able to kind of lessen the impact when I land on them because of a few issues I've got going on. But yeah.
And when you played for Lichfield together, folks, what positions did you play there?
I think I was probably more 10 at Lichfield. I think it was, I moved around from 10 to 13 to 15. Basically, I think my story was I was at 10, and then I wasn't good enough to play England 10, and basically they told me if I needed to move to fullback to get an England cap, so I did it. But I think originally, like I was a 10, out and out 10 at Lichfield. So we were probably 10 and 13, weren't we, Skaz?
Yeah, I reckon so. I think I did a bit of 13 and 15, but we probably worked around each other. I had a YOLO season at 10, but I don't think you were still there then, Macca. That was a bit later on. But it gives you a good perspective though, doesn't it? Playing a position like that when, as an outside back, you're always moaning at people, like, get us the ball, why are you taking up the space, all of those things that you start saying. And then actually when you do it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a bit trickier than I perhaps thought it was.
Absolutely. I remember going from 10 to 12. I'd done 10, done 15, 13, and I'd never done 12. And I was always like, 12 is an easy position, you don't have to make any decisions. You just get told what to do, you just hit the line. It's like, no, it's a really pressure situation because you suddenly got, you're not 10 where you've got that decision you're making. You're kind of reliant on everyone else, and you've got ball and man generally. So, yeah, I think it's great to get a perspective from all positions, but certainly Skaz is a massive established utility player, but he can play all positions, and I think that's important in your little journey, in any rugby journey, really.
So, Emily, you're back in England camp now, preparing for the upcoming Six Nations. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've been in every Tuesday, Wednesday for the last, few months, probably post-Christmas, really. We had a couple of gaps along the way. Obviously, when the Six Nations was postponed, I think we had a couple of gaps. But yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've been down in London preparing, and then we go in on Monday for what is a pretty long duration of the Six Nations with COVID restrictions and whatnot. We pretty much stay in the whole time. So that's going to be like quite a tough thing. I think obviously the restrictions mean that things are different. You don't room with someone, you can't really socialise. A lot of time will be spent kind of by yourself in the room. As Macca knows, well, you both know, rugby's a massively social environment, isn't it? So I think that'll be tough. We've got to come up with some innovative ways to keep people going. But fundamentally, yeah, really excited to start the Six Nations. It's probably been a long time coming. Excited to see what happens with us kind of playing on our own footing, if that makes sense. Obviously, the men will be finished. So excited to see what kind of support we get from that. Just a shame, naturally, there's no crowds.
Yeah, is it weird that it's coming up at this part of the time of the year, Emily, as well? Because it's not only is it delayed, but it's truncated as well, isn't it? With you playing Scotland and Italy, I believe, before a final, and hopefully, and then an exhibition game against France as well. But it's taking place during April and May, which is a bit strange. Yeah,
it is a bit strange. Obviously, the decision was made to postpone it, which now means it's standalone. And actually, I think it's a really good opportunity for it and our game to stand on its own 2 feet a little bit. You don't have to compete with kickoff times and air time with the men because you're not, essentially their Six Nations is over. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to see what that will look like. Obviously, it's a shame we don't get to see it in terms of crowds and numbers, but I think all the games are being shown on some form of TV or iPlayer or something. And yeah, the different format, I don't know, we obviously need to play it. I think naturally, as a bit of a traditionalist, I like playing the proper format. I like playing everybody. That's the joy of the Six Nations, but I understand why it's happened this way. So we'll get our heads down. We'll try to put our best foot forward and hopefully, as you say, we'll be in that final because that's ultimately what the goal is.
Vicky, COVID restrictions apart, how much has the game changed since your last international? I mean, obviously we know the differences on the pitch and it's a full-time game now, but what about off the pitch as well?
Yeah, I think it's so nice. I mean, I just always look back and think, most people were 50-50 sort of either managing a job or and trying to train. Most people had supportive jobs, so people had a lot of I suppose external pressure on them as well, but that was probably almost nicer because when they came into the England camp it was like everyone was getting away from their other pressures and coming and focusing on something that they just really, really enjoyed. I remember for me it was like, no disrespect to my teaching career, but it was like, I can shut the door on that for now and then I'm coming into being a rugby player. So I think that, it's almost kind of nice, but people sort of say to me, you're not a bit jealous, that, all the girls are full time. I'm not at all, I'm just really, really happy that I was a part of that process. I actually sort of saw the era where it was starting to turn. So, we were getting reasonable crowds, and I say reasonable when we were playing, probably a couple of thousand, maybe 1,000. I wouldn't know numbers. I don't think the ticket gates, did they, Scazza, back in them days? But we had a few watching. But now to see like the crowds buzzing, and, I've been to a few games, I've done commentary on some games, and it's a whole new level. So I'm just so pleased that the game's moving where it should be moving. And it's took longer than it should have done, but we could all say that and moan and, get on our high horse about where it should be. But I'm just really happy it's moving forwards. And I'm so happy that, for me, that some of the players that I played with are still going. It sounds awful, Scaz, doesn't it? It's still going. Lots of time in the left, yeah. But it likes a Scaz, Sunday. Rocky Clark's only just finished, Katie McLean's only just finished, Burr's still playing at Harlequins. And, it's just really nice to see that, the longevity of the careers that these guys have and how they've managed to do it. Like, I'd love an hour on that, Scaz, because I'm sure my body was battered by 30, so I was obviously doing something wrong.
It's very exciting times ahead, not only with the Six Nations, but looking further ahead, Emily, towards the World Cup 22. There's a global calendar starting in 23 as well, and there's even talk of a Lions squad for the women's game as well. So let's start with the World Cup in 2022 away in New Zealand. If you could go over there and win that tournament in New Zealand against the Black Ferns, that'd probably be one of the biggest achievements sides achieved whilst you've been part of it.
I think it's got to be right up there. I think as any rugby player, fan going, everybody knows the enormity of a challenge going to New Zealand and playing full stop, let alone winning and let alone that them being a World Cup as well. I think obviously the postponement hopefully will mean that 2022 means that fans and anybody that wants to travel can be there. So potentially making that a less black dominated environment in terms of the shirts that will be worn in the stadiums. So hopefully that'll be a good thing. But yeah, it's an unbelievable place to go and play, even if it's nothing to do with rugby. The country is an amazing country to be in. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that. I think it's kind of bucket list stuff, you think back to 2010, that's essentially what they did. They came here, beat us in a World Cup final on our own backyard. So I think there's not many of us left, like Macca said, that were a part of that. But I think it's definitely up there as one of the big goals. Well, naturally, but I suppose having it in New Zealand definitely adds a little extra spice to it.
When you go into places like that, sorry, but when you go into places like that, what's the key to winning there and doing a job? I suppose you have to become an extremely tight-knit group of players, both on and off the field. Yeah,
that's huge. I think that's huge for any World Cup campaign. You've got to, want to be around each other. You want to get on. I think the tour length will be really long. It'll be one of the longest that we've ever done because of the change in the tournament structure as well. So it could be, I think it's potentially 6, 7, 8 weeks away, which we'll probably have to go a bit earlier because of getting over the travel and the jet lag and stuff. So it could be a really long tour. So it's really important that, you have certain things in place, you take stuff with you, all of that sort of stuff. You schedule in times to call home when it's the hours match up, all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure we'll do a lot of work on that side of stuff. But yeah, just having a good group of people, again, like I said, what rugby's like. It's a fun place to be. The banter flies. You get stuck into each other a little bit. It's laughs, isn't it? It's what you kind of. That's one of the biggest reasons I enjoy playing rugby. But yeah, it definitely will be difficult.
Vicky, do you rate England's chances over there?
Yeah, my chances.
Do you rate England's chances over there? Unless you're expecting a late call, of course. You've got to rate the squad, and as an English player, ex-player, Red Rose, you back your side, and I think the extra year is only going to support England, in terms of their getting a bit more preparation time. The fact that you can get over there, and like you say, Emily, there's going to be some, white shirts out there, hopefully loads of them. So I think it's going to make a big difference to, and the tournament itself as well, just having the depth of the squads, all the, minor squads. I said minor squads, like the rest of the countries that are probably wouldn't have been as prepared this year will be a year on in their development. So I think it'll just make a better tournament. But yeah, it'll be a massive step for England to go and do it out there. I was part of the 2001 side that I was flown out as an injury replacement to that side that went out there. That's showing my age now. But yeah, I was out there when Jill Burns' side beat New Zealand. And that was phenomenal. Like the feeling, I wasn't even on the bench. I was an NPR, and I was like, felt like I was playing. It was the feeling of being in that squad and knowing that you'd just beaten the world champions and the team that had never been beaten in their own backyard was amazing. So I hope that, and I'm confident that can happen for the England girls this time. I also toured in 2005. Were you on that tour, Em?
No, not that old, Macca.
Old? Oh my God.
I'll be 15.
Yeah, but you got capped at 18. You're nearly there.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah, 2008. So yeah, 2005 there was an England New Zealand sort of tour for 3 weeks, and that was pretty special as well. But we got battered in the first test, and the second test we nearly toppled them. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. But England are in a great position now. They know they're the favourites. They've been World Cup winners before, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Further ahead then. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, the other thing obviously is home World Cup, the pressure's really on them. And look, we're only talking about us and them, and naturally there's lots of other countries that will feature and want to have a serious say in that. But I think as I played in one, it's quite high stakes when you're in a home World Cup. You get the support and all of that side of stuff is amazing, but there's definite pressure as well. Your own media is immediately there. We probably won't notice our media because we'll be 12 hours ahead or behind or whatever it is. So I think things like that, sometimes that separation is actually a really good thing when you're away from home.
Yeah. No.
Interesting. And if we look a bit further ahead than that, Emily, how important will the upcoming global calendar be for the women's game when it starts? 2023, I think. Yeah,
really important. I think it's brilliant that they've now come out and they have a structure. They now have something that teams can aspire to be. They can set goals. I think naturally, other than a World Cup, teams didn't really have a huge amount to aim for, especially teams that perhaps are in that development stage. I think now it really puts the onus on kind of governing bodies and federations to really support those sides, because there is now a clearer pathway, if you like. There's stages, there's competitions that they can play in, and they can progress and they can see their way kind of to the top if that's something they want to do. So I think it's brilliant for the game, and I hope now that, as I say, federations and governing bodies really get behind those sides to back them. I think we've seen some strong moves from teams like South Africa, who have employed Lynn Cantwell, who's going over there as performance director or something like that. Someone like that who's been in the game for such a long time, amazing knowledge, to a country like South Africa with such a rich rugby heritage. I think moves like that are really promising for our game.
Okay, and the prospect of a British and Irish Lions for the women's game, I think I'm looking into the feasibility of that at the moment, but hopefully if that goes ahead, what would you give to be a part of that? And I literally mean, what would you give to be a part of that? I can't give you right arm because that would make you half the player, but what else would you give?
Oh, it would be unreal. I was speaking about it the other day because Royal London are doing the feasibility study, aren't they, to see essentially how feasible it could be, but you can't help but take yourself there already and get really excited about the prospect of it. As I said, I've been a rugby fan my whole life. You watch Lions tours, you have kind of bucket list going on one as a fan and as a supporter because they look unreal. So to now potentially have that kind of opportunity to maybe pull on the red shirt, I mean, I don't really, you don't want to get too excited about it because, as I say, we're still in early stages with it, but it would be unreal. It would be.
It's hard not to get excited about it.
I can see you in that shirt, Emily. I can see it. You can see it.
It would be unreal. I think we've seen awesome things like with the Barbarians stuff. Obviously, the Lions would again be a huge step forward, and just it would be amazing. Obviously, a lot of the girls in your own nation would be involved, but just also getting to know people from other nations. That's the whole joy of a Lions team. You don't know who the coach would be. You don't know how they want to play the game. You could play this incredible brand of rugby that, is just next level, and they'll pick the players appropriate for that. That's kind of, again, the joy of the Lions, isn't it? So, it'd be awesome to be involved with something like that. And again, like looking at where you might tour, it would probably at the moment look like somewhere like New Zealand or maybe North America or something like that. So that could be cool. I could be nearing the end of my career by that point, though. If not,
no.
I'll be hanging on.
What's very important for Vicky and myself there, Emily, is that you do make that, because there's a reasonable chance we might be able to get some cheap tickets from Emily there, Vicky, if that goes ahead. So good luck with your attempts to get in that squad, Emily.
No pressure.
Vicky, is that something you'd go and watch abroad?
Absolutely. Right. Definitely watch. Hopefully, get involved in some way in broadcasting or something. Because I'd love. I just feel like that's the culmination of everything that's been done so far. And it's like, what's the next step? That is the next step. So I'd love to be. Even if it's a water girl or something, I'd love to be involved. But if not, I should be traveling. I'll take my boys with me, and we'll go and watch them. Definitely, Max and Harry will be on the plane to wherever. I reckon it'll be brilliant.
Closer to home and a bit closer to reality as well, Emily. Let's touch on Loughborough Lightning season, because it's getting towards the business end. You're in the top 4, and a very big game against Exeter coming up at the weekend for you.
Yeah, really big game. I think our points difference is pretty good at the moment, but I think there's only 3 games left. So obviously we go into a Six Nations break, but 3 games left. If we get a result against Exeter, I think it more or less confirms our top 4. However, if we don't, then the last 2 games could be a real scrap, and we'll be waiting to see what they do and all that sort of stuff. So huge game. We've been going okay. I think last week's result against Wasps was really disappointing. I think we've probably not quite fired the shots that we wanted to fire. So I think, this weekend we'll be trying to put some of that right down on Sandy Park, which looks especially non-grassy, which doesn't fill me with too much joy, I'm not going to lie to you, but nonetheless, big game, and then you break for an international window. So I think the girls will all be really fired up for it, because most of them will get a bit of a rest after this. So big one.
I commentated on the Tigers Exeter game, and it didn't look very inviting, I have to say. I did think about the players. I was looking at the pitch, but oh well, run faster on it. Yeah.
Well, because we're used to the 4G at Loughborough, so we never have to wash the mud off or anything like that. You just have to pick the rubber crumb off you. So it'll be different, but it'll be good. It'll be really good.
An old school game coming up at the weekend.
exactly.
I mean, let's go back a little bit, because the last 12 months have been a bizarre time for everybody, and I'd just be interested to get your take as an athlete on how it's been for you and your colleagues and friends over the last 12 months as well. How have you managed to stay fit? What sort of eating regimes have you had? What's it been like?
Yeah, well, it's mad that it's 12 months for starters, isn't it? I think fundamentally as athletes, we've been really lucky. I know lots of people have been going through their own journeys and whatnot, but we've been pretty lucky. We've obviously recently, we're still playing, we've been back training. If you go right back to the start, when all the gyms shut, whatnot, I built a bit of a gym up at the farm. It was a bit spit and sawdust style, but it did the job. A lot of like training by yourself, a lot of actually training, just kind of doing what you want to do. We're normally so rigidly planned in terms of you need to cover this amount of distance, or you need to do this high speed or this lift or whatever. Whereas actually when our season got cancelled, it gave us potentially 4 months of kind of a bit of a respite where you could totally switch off from rugby mentally, because there wasn't even any to watch. Not even the men were playing at that point. So that was.
Were you ready for that, Emily, at that time?
I probably didn't realise it at the time, but I think it was definitely a really good thing. I think you don't get those breaks. You normally get a bit of time off after a season, but it's never that long. If you get injured and potentially you have a longer break, that's not a break. You're still completely immersed in it, and if anything, you probably work harder than actually when you're fit. So actually, it was a really nice time just to switch off, reconnect with friends and family, albeit virtually, and just do some different things. Like everybody, I got out in the garden, did some gardening, re-landscaped my grand's garden, just did things like that, again, naturally you would never have time to be able to do that sort of stuff. Helped out on the farm a little bit where I was able to. And it was really nice and refreshing. And I'm obviously incredibly grateful for having that. And as I say, now we're able to play and train pretty normally. We're not allowed to go out for coffee when we'd normally obviously go out for coffee as professional athletes in the middle of the morning. But I mean, like everybody, that'll be one of the things we look forward to when it comes back.
I was going to say, what was one of the things you missed the most during that time? That's got to be up there.
Yeah, definitely coffee mornings. And I really like eating out. Like I love food. I love cooking nice food. I love eating nice food. So I miss just being able to go out and have a pick of a restaurant, have a nice evening. You don't, as rugby players, you're probably not out as much as some people in terms of going out and socialising and whatnot. But yeah, I do enjoy going out for food. So I'm looking forward to places being open. Was it
hard to stick to the right food during that time, Emily? And was there anything that was finding its way in front of you all the time? Bars of chocolate or sticky toffee pudding or something, Yeah,
so when we started, I was doing Lent. So I most years I try and give up like chocolate desserts because I've got a real sweet tooth. So I try and give up that for Lent. So when first lockdown started, I was still doing that. So I think that was a bit of a saving grace at the time. So that kind of just forced that side of things. But then you get back into a new routine. So I was still training a lot, different training, but I was still training a lot. Making the banana breads like everybody was making and the sourdoughs and whatever. But yeah.
I even cooked, so it must have been like hard times. Before, so yeah, I'm on that page. Wow, they don't do it anymore though.
No. I really enjoy cooking, so it's not something that I find like a task or laborious or whatever. So it's quite nice just to have time to make something from scratch, brand new. I do eat reasonably well anyway, like you have to, and I don't enjoy eating terrible food, so it's not too hard for me. The only bit that's hard for me is the sweet tooth bit, which I said about. So
what's your signature dish, Emily?
Ooh, signature dish.
You can have two. Emma, I think Vicky's is pizza. Why are you thinking about that? So take your time.
I was thinking Haribo's sweets.
Making a lot of like red Thai curries during the winter. I quite like some homely stuff as well, like pies and sausage and mash, stuff like that. I mean, that's not cooking really, but it's good nonetheless.
Okay. A couple of quick fire questions, Emily, as we're getting near the end. What's the loudest person you've ever played with in your career?
Ooh, probably someone like a Rachel Burford. She was always,
really?
Yeah, she was always on the field, always really loud.
Agreed, and off the field, I'd say she was.
Well, yeah.
She can't get out of that. Loud personality, but yeah, I probably would be up
okay.
mine.
And what about the toughest opponent you've ever played against?
Ooh.
Individually?
What a good question. I think, but Beth would probably be up there again as one of a teammate, but play against probably somebody like a Marjorie Mayans. So she played a lot, French girl, played a lot against her 7s and 15s. Yeah. And she's just really tough. Like, she's not the biggest girl, but she hits like she's twice the size of she actually is. Just really doesn't give you anything. You always have to work for everything. So probably somebody like her.
And is she one of these people who you would become friends with because of that, or just a quick cursory handshake and off you go because they're such a big opponent?
My French is appalling, so we have a mutual kind of bonjour as far as we can go. But yeah, obviously we've been around each other for a long time, so we get on as much as two people who don't speak each other's language get on.
Okay. And what about the worst loser you've ever played with? Someone who sulks in the changing rooms for ages.
That's a really good question.
I
think there's probably lots, because in our world, like if you've lost, it hurts a lot. Yeah, you don't want to lose. But I suppose if you go to like, if you play in like a stupid game, or I don't know, it's just a keepy-uppy game or something like that, and then someone still sulks, probably somebody like, who's a bad loser? Well, me and Mo Hunt are always very competitive with one another. Okay. It's our relationship. It's how we work. So if one of us loses to the other, then we'll probably have a bit of a hunt.
Yeah. Amy Turner have little competitions, and Amy Turner gets a bit stressed if she loses as well. So, but she's in coaching now, so she has to be a bit more. Yeah.
She still gets stuck in.
Yeah.
Vicky, let's move forward to things that are coming up Diddy-wise over the next few weeks, and the fantastic news for you and all the coaches, parents and children is that live classes are back from the 29th of March. What sort of a response have you had to that from your customers and kids in the Midlands areas?
It really has. I mean, we're just itching, like, chomping at the bit to get back, because the kids need it. I'm a parent myself. My kids need their football, their rugby, their swimming. They need it all to come back. So we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for this moment. So we've got massive lists of kids that are just new children coming back to Diddy. Sorry, new children coming to Diddy, members coming back again. But everybody's been keeping in contact. We've been running all our sessions online on the Zoom sessions. So lots of kids have been, playing rugby at home with their parents, with their brothers and sisters, and we've been facilitating that all the way through. We've had some awesome skills and story times by the ambassadors that have been keeping us going. So yeah, I think it's just been amazing to just see the influx coming back in, and I just can't wait to see them in real life on the pitch, see their little faces. They're really happy to be there, and just know you're having an impact on kids' physical and mental health again, because it's really important that we do that all the time.
You've been seeing some of your class members, Vicky, through the online sessions you've been doing. So it's been, what's that been like, just to see them on Zoom, and then all of a sudden you're going to be seeing them in person soon?
we keep saying to the kids, next week we'll be seeing you in real life. And I'm thinking, do they even understand, that's normal to them now to be looking at the camera? But compared to the little ones, they're so interactive. Like, they really have got into it. I do a little bit of work with older teenagers as well. And the teenagers, cameras off. It's like, get your cameras on. So I think it's different ends of the spectrum. The little ones are just up for it. They'll do whatever you ask them to do. They want to do it there. We've had some lovely games, that we've managed to adapt online. So yeah, they've been using their teddies. They've been, going and finding bits of equipment in the house. They've been using saucepans and rolled up balls of socks. And it's just been really, really good fun for them. So I think the kids have probably been fine. It's probably the parents that have been... It'll be nice to see everybody back on the grass, on the outside sessions from the 29th, definitely.
And Emily, we're always very grateful for the time you give us as a Diddy Rugby ambassador, but how important is it for those young kids to get back to be running around, having fun, but not only that, but building the relationships with people around them that rugby's renowned for?
Oh, it's so important. You know, they'll have missed out on so much, like the social interaction, the physical side of stuff, like Macca said, the mental health side of things. And probably at that age, they don't probably even realise it, but it's massive. That age is such a really important part of any person's kind of journey in terms of the skills you pick up, the memories you make, the helps forge your personality and all of those things that you go on to become. So it's massively important. Just getting back around like-minded little kids who want to run around and play rugby and just go and have fun and see what happens. It's massively important, and yeah, hopefully that will now continue and that will be the norm.
And thank
Fantastic.
you.
Well,
you're a massive hero to so many now. You know, I know you don't like to say it, but you know, you're up there. You're a red rose. You're, you know, captained your country, and you know the fact that you're giving time to Didi Rugby is so important to me personally as well. So thank you, Emily.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
And that's a lovely point to finish on. So, you know, from me, Emily, thank you very much for your time today. It's fantastic to see you again and for you to join us and give up your time up for Didi Rugby. Thank you very much for joining us.
Not at all. Thank you.
Vicky, nice to see you as ever. We'll catch up again soon. Folks, thank you very much for joining today's live broadcast. If you want to find out about any more live broadcasts coming up in the future, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll be the first to know about it. If you're interested in a free taster session at any of our classes, please write to the email address which is on the screen now, info@didyrugby.com. You can find out more on our website at www.didyrugby.com, and please follow us on our social media channels. That's Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And that just leaves me, Martin Crowson, to say once again, thanks very much to our two guests, Emily and Vicky. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you. Thanks, guys.